Lights, camera, action, stories with Zach. I ask the questions and you get the answers. This week I sat down with Justyne Edgell of JE Photo and Design to discuss the COVID-19 impacts on her business. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Justyne. And today we'll be discussing the impacts of COVID-19 on your photography business. So what kind of impacts has COVID-19 had on your business?
So there have actually been two sort of very different impacts that I've noticed over the last year and a little bit, I guess. The first one is sort of what all small business owners are facing, which is these lockdowns and restrictions that are just stopping us from being able to work on occasion. People aren't allowed to gather in larger groups. So things like weddings, which I'm often photographing, are either being downsized dramatically or canceled altogether. And I actually know of a few events, not that I am booked for myself, but some other photographers I know have been booked for, and the events have to keep going, but they can't have a photographer there. So it's one of those things that the memories aren't going to happen again. And it's kind of sad in that way that, our job can't happen. But the other thing that I noticed was last fall. So I guess people had already been working from home for a while and families were getting closer together and getting used to that life all sort of at home all day. And I think just because people had more time around their family members, around their home, that they sort of decided that family photos would be a good thing to do. So in the fall is generally a busy time for family photos anyway, but last fall was the busiest fall I've had. So that was good. And we weren't in a lockdown at that time, so I could actually do all those photos.
What is the name of your company and where can people go to find out more information about it?
So my company is called Justyne Edgell Photography and Design, but I kind of go by JE Photo and Design just because it's easier to have on the internet. So my web address is jephotoanddesign.com, and it's got all my social links there, my portfolio, booking info.
What got you into photography?
It's kind of a hard question. I don't think there was like a specific moment where something happened and I thought I'm going to be a photographer, but I always kind of liked taking photos. I had started with a little pink digital camera when I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and then slowly sort of graduated my equipment up as I got more interested in it and started understanding the different types of equipment and the benefits of different features. And then I guess I've always kind of been interested in artistic careers, but photography is one of those things that you can really kind of branch out on your own on the side from whatever you're doing. So I started doing photography, what I would call professionally. So taking clients that are not just family members for free while I was at school and working other part-time jobs. So it just sort of happened. And then as I got busier and busier, I realized that it was more of a business opportunity and something that I could actually kind of have as a career.
What kind of precautions have you been taking to make sure that people you're taking pictures of are safe while pictures are being taken?
So I do most of my sessions outdoors anyway, which adds a whole other level of safety in itself, just being in the open spaces with airflow. But also the lens that I use on my camera is a bit of a zoom lens. So I have to be distanced from my clients anyway of at least 6 feet, usually more. So it can be done really very safely. If there is an instance where I need to be close to someone, I will put on a mask. I also work in healthcare, so I totally understand all of the safety precautions and reasons for the restrictions. I'm also already vaccinated, so that's a plus as well. I know it's not like 100% effective right away or just in general. But it's also kind of a cool thing to drop and say, your photographer is vaccinated.
So, how long or how far in advance did someone book if they want you to come take photos at an event, like a wedding or something along that line?
So weddings are crazy large events anyway. They have gotten bigger and bigger as years have gone on. I have clients booking a year, 2 years in advance. Um, my schedule isn't crazy busy. I'm still not doing photography full time. So it's not a huge deal for me to book sort of not last minute clients, but closer clients than sort of a year, 2 years out. But I do have some bookings already for 2022. So yeah, if there are large events that you're going to need a whole day for, or that you are really going to want to secure that specific spot for, I recommend getting on it as soon as you're able.
What is one thing that people should know about your company?
I think one thing that you should know about any artistic company that you are going to hire is you need to understand that artistic style. So when you're hiring me as a photographer, you need to assume that what you are going to get is the work that I kind of already show in my portfolio, but with you in it. So it's sometimes I think people choose a photographer based on a person, and then they might get the photos and they're like, oh, well, I was kind of hoping for something else. But when you're hiring a photographer, you should really look at their portfolio and then sort of imagine that that's the photos you're going to be getting. So, yeah, it's a little bit of research on your own part to find a person who suits you best.
Okay. So, has the lockdowns like really affected you? Like, I know we've been in the color zones, but then like right
Mhm.
now in the province-wide lockdown, does that affect your business?
So they it's yes and no. So they are limiting photographers to work within the gathering counts. So that means that 5 people gather outdoors. So I can have my camera and I can have 4 clients with me outside in a field, in a trail, wherever I'm taking photos. But then again, for large events, things that are getting downsized, canceled, it does affect those sort of things. So luckily, the types of photos that I usually do, couples, families, I don't often have more than 4 people max anyway. So I've been lucky in that way.
So, if somebody's looking to book with you, what is the best way to do that? Should they go to your website? How should they reach out and secure a spot of booking with you?
Yeah, I mean, any way you want to contact me is fine. I have my email address out on my website. There are some contact forms on my website where you can fill out like a little inquiry questionnaire. Even messaging me on social media is fine. Yeah, and I think my phone number is out there as well, so you can give me a call, and then yeah, we can kind of go through schedules and see what works.
What kind of equipment do you use? Like, obviously, I know that you use it. I'm assuming you use a DSLR camera, but like, do you use lights when you're taking photos, or any reflectors, or any other equipment?
So the camera that I use is a Canon 5D Mark IV. So it's kind of a honking camera right here. And then this tiny little lens is my favorite. It's the 50 mm portrait lens. Um, and then I don't really use a whole lot else other than sort of editing software and post production. But I do pretty much all of my sessions outdoors. So I'm using the natural light. I do have some light setup that I can use if needed, but I like using the sun in creative ways. So I find that I can sort of do my best artistic work when I'm using the sun. And then, yeah, the post production is probably the other type of equipment. So I have my laptop here, and then I use the Adobe software to edit.
Why should somebody, and this would be my final question for you, why should somebody choose your company for you to take their photos?
I think so, sort of going back to that, finding a photographer who suits your style. You really want to find somebody who kind of matches well with your vision and that you can get along with well, because taking photos is a bit of an experience. It's not only the final product that you're going to get, but the experience of the session itself is a whole part of the photography process. I like to, so my style is kind of prompt based versus posing. So I like to do, it's kind of like moving poses where I can catch those little in between moments of raw emotion. And I think that moments themselves are so fleeting, and we can often get caught up in life and you're not remembering all of the sort of times in between day-to-day life. But when you get a photo, that's really something tangible that you can have at the end and say, like, this was this day in 2019 when my family and I were at the park, something like that. And you actually have that moment. And I think my style is trying to get the really sort of overall picture and emotion of the moment rather than just a pose. So I think I try at least to capture more of a sentiment than a look.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for your interview with me. I've asked the questions, and you've now got the answers. That's it for Stories with Zach for this week. We'll see you next week. Lights, camera, bye-bye.